Joining me for more is Dov Waxman. He's a professor of political science and Israel studies at Northeastern University. Dov, good to have you back on the show. At first glance, you'd think it would be reasonable for Netanyahu to request that Iran recognize its right to exist as a condition for the deal, because Iran has sworn to wipe Israel off the map. Do you agree with him or the president on this?
Well, I agree with the president that although it's certainly understandable that Israel would seek that, it's completely unrealistic at this point to demand that of Iran or to make that a condition for this nuclear agreement. Essentially, inserting that as a condition, particularly at this stage, would essentially torpedo any possible agreement. That's a much bigger issue. I think Israel is right to highlight the fact that Iran rejects Israel's existence and in fact calls for Israel's destruction. But to seek to insert this into what is already a very difficult negotiation between the P5+1 and Iran is basically to undermine any prospect of a nuclear agreement.
Netanyahu's hardline stance on Iran, though, seemed to have won his party and other right-wing Israeli parties a lot of votes in the last election. So do most Israelis support Netanyahu's opposition to the deal?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, there's not been any public opinion polling done since the deal has been announced. And I think the reaction in the Israeli media, at least, has been more positive than you might have expected. Certainly, most Israelis support Netanyahu's very alarmist statements about what an Iranian nuclear program, about the threat it poses to Israel. And they broadly support Netanyahu's approach to this. Although there are many in Israel, certainly within Israel's security establishment, who disagree on the way in which Netanyahu has gone about this. In particular, the kind of confrontational hardline approach he's taken in public. They say even if Israel has very good reasons to be concerned about a nuclear agreement, undermining the relationship of the White House, being so confrontational with Obama, isn't actually helping Israel's cause.
Now, as you know, it's not just Netanyahu and Israel who are concerned about the deal. There are a series of U.S. allies in the Middle East who are also concerned. And this is a time when Iran seems to be intervening more in the region, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Syria. It's continuing support of Hezbollah in Lebanon. So won't this deal make the Iranians wealthier by pulling out the sanctions and opening up their economy, and as a result, even more of a threat?
Well, that is absolutely one of the major concerns, not only that Israel has, but that, as you say, Saudi Arabia and other regional countries in the region have. And I think it's very important for the administration to really speak to that, not simply to present this deal as they're doing, that it's either this deal or war, but rather to say that while they're focusing on securing this deal with Iran, at the same time, they're going to be very strong on opposing Iranian expansion in other areas, and also in dealing with all other aspects of Iran's behavior. Its support for Hezbollah, its support for Hamas, its ballistic missile program. And none of these things are part of the agreement.
And the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, just said that the deal would strengthen Iran's position in the region. He seemed to be quite happy about it. Most of Iran seemed to celebrate the deal. So it must be uncomfortable for the U.S. government to see that kind of reaction. And on the other hand, Republican critics of the deal should probably question the fact that, in a way, they're on the same side as the Iranian hardliners who don't want the deal. So it's a confusing situation for sure. Different weird allies.
It's very confusing. I mean, this is the Middle East, so it's always a complicated situation. I would say, though, that we shouldn't assume that Iran will necessarily emerge stronger from this. At the end of the day, if an agreement is reached and Iran abides by it, it will keep the Iranian nuclear program in check for a length of time. Now, without an agreement, the Iranian nuclear program will continue, and Iran may well be able to develop a nuclear weapon. So although this agreement is certainly imperfect, it may ultimately do more to contain Iranian power, at least in the short term, than anything else that's on the table.